Some people don't want to see who you are today because it ruins the story they keep telling about you. They act like they've forgotten how much you've changed, how hard you've worked, how far you've come. But that's a lie. They remember. They just choose to ignore it. Instead, they bring up your worst moments, your biggest mistakes, the version of you that was lost, confused, or just trying to survive. It's not an accident. It's a strategy. It's like someone watching you finally climb out of the mud, only to throw dirt back on you just to remind you where you came from. Or like breaking free from a prison and someone keeps slipping the key back into your hand, hoping you'll lock yourself up again. Why? Because your growth makes them uncomfortable. Your healing reminds them they haven't healed. Your strength shines a light on their weakness. Let's be real. People don't drag your past into the present because they care. They do it because they can't handle who you've become. And the more you rise, the more they try to pull you back. It's not about memory, it's about control. But here's your power. You don't have to play along. You don't have to defend who you were when who you are now speaks louder. Every time you choose silence over shame, growth over guilt, peace over proving yourself, you win. If someone keeps bringing up your past, it's not just about your history. It's about their discomfort with your evolution. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why they do it and how to stop letting it hold you back. Let's talk about it. If this message hit home, if you've ever had someone try to chain you to your past while you were fighting to become your best self, then like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We're not just creating content, we're building a space for real growth, real healing, and real conversations. Your story deserves to move forward, so drop a comment below. What part of your past are you no longer letting others use against you? Let's grow together. Let's break the cycle. Number 1. Stop letting unhealed people keep you stuck in who you used to be. Are they really concerned or just unhealed? Here's the truth you need to know. Why do some people always bring up the version of you that no longer exists? Why do they act like your mistakes define you when you've clearly outgrown them? The truth is hard to hear, but it's freeing. People who keep dragging your past into the present often do it because they haven't healed their own. It's not really about you. It's about what your growth reminds them of. Your progress is a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look into it. They see your strength, your clarity, your peace, and it shakes something in them. So instead of facing their wounds, they reopen yours. Not with a knife, but with a smile that cuts just as deep. Remember when you used to, they say, pretending it's harmless. But it's not. It's a subtle attempt to shrink you. Seneca once said, "He who clings to pain cannot walk forward." And that's exactly what they're doing. They haven't let go of their own guilt, regret, or shame, so they try to keep you stuck in yours. I knew someone like that. A woman, we'll call her Illa, had changed her whole life. Therapy, new habits, better choices. But one old friend never let her live it down. Every catch-up was a walk down memory lane, straight to her worst chapters. And one day it hit her. That friend wasn't reconnecting. She was resisting Illa's growth because it forced her to face her own lack of it. Here's your lesson. You don't owe anyone the old you just because they're more comfortable with it. If they're stuck, that's their work to do, not yours. Don't argue, don't shrink, don't go back just to make someone else feel better about staying behind. You've turned your pain into power. They're still afraid of doing the same. Let them stay in the past if they choose to, but you keep walking forward. Number 2. Don't let anyone use your past as a weapon to control you. When someone keeps bringing up your past, ask yourself this: are they reminding you, or are they trying to own you? Because some people don't mention your old mistakes to help you grow. They bring them up to keep you small. It's not love. It's not honesty. It's control. They've seen you rise. They know you've changed. But instead of applauding your growth, they try to tie you to your lowest moments. Why? Because your strength makes them feel powerless. So they reach for the one thing that used to work: your shame. They'll say things like, "Don't forget where you came from," or "After everything you've done, you think you're better now." But those aren't warnings. Those are invisible handcuffs. Their goal is to trap you in emotional debt, where you're always apologizing, always proving, always explaining. That's not healing. That's control. Epictetus said, "Do not hand over your peace to the judgment of others, because the second you let someone define your worth based on your past, you give them power over your present, and they will use that power over your confidence, your decisions, your future." I know someone who went through this. Jason. Years ago, he made mistakes, bad ones, but he turned it around. Therapy, success, peace. He was finally in a good place. But every time he made progress, a certain family member would whisper, "Be careful, we remember the old you." And for a while, it worked. Jason started questioning himself again, shrinking, feeling undeserving, until he realized he wasn't the problem. Their view of him was outdated. Their need to control him was the real issue. So he stopped explaining, stopped shrinking, and the moment he protected his peace, their words lost all power. Here's your reminder: you don't owe anyone a lifetime of guilt just because they can't let go of your past. Walk in your truth. Let your growth speak for itself, and never let someone keep you in chains you've already broken. Number 3. Recognize when your growth is triggering. Insecure people then keep growing anyway. If they keep pulling you back, it's because they're terrified of how far you'll go. Let's get one thing straight. Your growth scares some people, not because it's harmful, but because it exposes what they've avoided. When you evolve, when you become stronger, clearer, more confident, it forces others to confront where they've stayed the same, and not everyone's ready to face that mirror. So what do? They try to drag you back to the version of you that was easier to understand, easier to manage, back to the broken you, the unsure you, the one they felt bigger than, because that version made them feel safe. The new you, it threatens their comfort zone. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The one who seeks your past fears your present power." Read that again. When someone keeps bringing up your past, it's not nostalgia, it's resistance. They don't want to face your transformation because deep down, it reminds them they haven't changed. And instead of rising with you, they'd rather hold you back, just to keep the story the same. I know someone who lived this. A guy named Eric grew up in a rough neighborhood, made some bad calls, but he turned it all around, got a degree, built a business, took control of his life. But every time he saw old friends, it was the same jokes, the same reminders of when he hit rock bottom. At first, he brushed it off, but then he realized they weren't reminiscing. They were afraid of who he'd become. And here's what Eric learned. It's not your job to shrink so others feel tall. It's not your job to make your growth digestible for people who never tried to grow themselves. You don't have to explain your evolution. You don't need to prove you've changed. Your life is the proof. So keep climbing, keep glowing. The ones who fear your growth, they were never meant to grow beside you. Let them watch, let them talk, but don't let them stop you. Number 4. Never shrink back. Just because someone refuses to accept the new you. One of the hardest things about growing is realizing not everyone is going to grow with you. You'll change. You'll evolve emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. And still, some people will treat you like you're stuck in the same place. Same tone, same jokes, same subtle digs, as if the version of you that existed years ago is the only one they'll ever recognize. Why? Because accepting your growth would force them to face a truth they're not ready for, that they've stayed the same. Here's the hard truth. They're not refusing to accept you because you're doing something wrong. They're refusing because your transformation disrupts their comfort. If they admit you've changed, they have to look at how they haven't. And not everyone is ready to grow. So instead, they keep you in a box. One they can manage, one that doesn't make them feel small in comparison. Epictetus once said, "You are not bound to who you were. Grow with reason and let the past be dust." You don't owe anyone the past version of yourself. Not friends, not family, not anyone who makes your healing feel like a problem. I knew someone who went through this. Her name was Emily. She worked hard, left a toxic relationship, healed her anxiety, built herself up from scratch. But when she met with her old friends, they kept bringing up the girl she used to be. Sensitive, fragile, emotional. They didn't respect the woman she had become. They just kept dragging her back to a version that made them feel in control. Eventually, she stopped explaining. She stopped laughing it off. She walked away from who they thought she was and fully into who she had become. And you can do the same. If someone can't accept the new you, that's their limitation, not your responsibility. Don't play small so others can feel secure. If your growth makes them uncomfortable, let it. You didn't do all this work just to stay the same for someone who refuses to see your light. Number 5. Walk away from anyone who can't respect the journey. You fought to survive. If they can't respect your growth, they don't deserve a seat on your journey. There's a certain kind of person who will always see you as who you used to be, not because you haven't changed, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. You've climbed mountains, faced demons, rebuilt yourself piece by piece. But to them, you're still the person who struggled, still the person who fell, still the version they could control, pity, or laugh at. That's not respect. That's control wrapped in familiarity. Here's the truth. If someone refuses to acknowledge how far you've come, they're not blind. They're choosing not to see. Because once they admit you've grown, they can't talk to you the same. They can't joke at your expense. They can't define you with labels that no longer fit. So instead of evolving with you, they try to lock you into a chapter you've already closed. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Judge not the man by his past, but by the direction of his stride." That's the truth. What matters isn't where you started, it's where you're going. And if someone only wants to talk about your past, it's probably because they're scared of your future. Your stride threatens their stillness. I knew someone like that. Let's call her Sarah. She had been through a lot. Bad choices, dark seasons, rock bottom. But she turned her life around. Years of healing, growth, and real change. Yet every time she saw certain relatives, they'd say things like, "Remember how you used to cry all the time?" Or, "We're surprised you got it together." At first, she brushed it off, but later she realized they didn't want to see her as healed. They preferred her broken, because that version made them feel superior. So here's your reminder. You don't need to prove your growth to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. Stop explaining, set boundaries, protect your path. The people who truly respect your journey will celebrate how far you've come. not drag you back to where you started. Keep walking. They don't get to hold the pen to a story they never had the strength to write. Number 6. Cut ties with those who keep you anchored in a past you've outgrown. They want you quiet, guilty, and stuck. Don't let them win. Some people don't bring up your past to help you heal it. They bring it up to trap you inside it. Every time you try to speak up, stand tall, or move forward, they hit rewind. They mention your lowest moments. They whisper your old mistakes. Not to remind you, but to control you. It's one of the most quiet but dangerous games people play. See, the moment you start feeling guilty, you begin to hesitate. You second-guess yourself. You dim your light. You start walking like you don't deserve the ground beneath you. And that's exactly what they want, because as long as you're stuck in guilt, you're easier to manage. Epictetus once said, "Guilt unearned is a chain forged by manipulation. Let that sit with you. Not all guilt belongs to you. Some of it was placed on your shoulders by people who gain power from your silence. They don't need to see you fail. They just need you to doubt your right to succeed." Take Daniel, for example. Years ago, he made some big mistakes, but he owned up to them, changed his life, grew stronger, wiser, but his older brother never let him forget. Every achievement came with a jab. Don't get too proud. We know who you really are. And for a while it worked. Daniel stayed small, until one day he woke up and realized something life-changing. If someone still needs you to feel bad for who you used to be, it says more about their control issues than your character. Here's your truth. Your past is a page, not a prison. And you are no longer obligated to stay in that old story just because someone else refuses to turn the chapter. Let go of their guilt. Let go of their shame. And most importantly, let go of the idea that you have to stay stuck just to make someone else comfortable. You're not the person they keep trying to remind you of. So break the chain and keep climbing. Number 7. Don't react. They're just testing you to see if you're still weak. If they keep poking your past, they're testing to see if you're still weak there. Not every mention of your past is a trip down memory lane. Sometimes it's a trap. Some people bring up old stories, not to bond, not to reflect, but to test you. They're not checking your memory. They're checking your reactions. It's a quiet way of asking, are you still wounded here? Can I still shake you up? They'll throw in a half joke or a side comment. It sounds casual, but underneath it's calculated. They want to see if you flinch, if you defend yourself, if you fall back into old shame or start explaining yourself all over again. Because the moment you react, they feel like they've found your pressure point, and they'll press it every time they feel jealous, insecure, or threatened by your growth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "He who cannot be provoked holds the highest power." And that's the armor you need right now, because real strength doesn't always roar. It stays silent when someone's trying to rattle it. Your stillness, your peace, your silence. That's your power. That's how you show the world you're no longer that person they're trying to poke at. I knew a guy named Alex. He used to be impulsive, quick to react, always on edge, but over time, he grew. Therapy, mindset shifts, a new way of thinking. He became calm, controlled. But one old friend loved testing him, always with lines like, "Don't go soft on us now. Remember when you used to flip over nothing?" At first, Alex wanted to prove himself, to argue, to set the record straight. But then he realized, this wasn't about friendship. It was a game, a test. So he stopped playing. No reply, no defense, just calm. And in that silence, he took back all the power they thought they had. So here's your reminder. Not everything deserves your energy. If they're trying to provoke you, don't bite the bait. The game only works if you play it. And once they see you've outgrown the triggers, the game ends. For good. Number 8. If they keep bringing up your past, it's time to leave them in it. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to stop dragging certain people with you, especially the ones who can't stop talking about who you used to be. If someone constantly brings up your past, even after you've changed, grown, and worked hard to heal, it's not a sign of love. It's a warning. They're not trying to understand you. They're trying to control how others see you. They want to keep you small, keep you guilty, keep you tied to a version of yourself you've already outgrown. And why? Because your transformation makes them uncomfortable, because your strength reminds them of their weakness, because your growth forces them to look at themselves, and they're not ready to do that work. Think of your past like a house you moved out of. It served its purpose, but it's not your home anymore. Now imagine someone who keeps walking through those old, dusty rooms, pointing at the cracks in the walls and saying, "This is who you are." Would you move back in just to prove them wrong? Of course not. So why keep explaining yourself to someone who refuses to see who you are now? Marcus Aurelius said, "The opinion of others should not disturb your peace." That includes people who can't stop talking about your mistakes. The people who truly see you, the real you, will speak about your growth, not your failures. They'll talk about your progress, not your past. So here's the truth. If they're still stuck on your old story, let them stay there. You've written new chapters. You've turned the page. You've moved on. And if they haven't, that's their problem, not yours. You don't need to carry dead weight. You don't need to answer to ghosts. So if they keep bringing up your past, do yourself a favor, leave them in it, and keep walking boldly into the future you've earned. At the end of the day, your past was never meant to hold you hostage. It was meant to teach you, shape you, and then let you go. The people who keep bringing it up are often the ones still trapped in their own. Don't let their fear of change stop your growth. If this message spoke to you, like the video, subscribe for more truth like this and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments, tell me, what part of your past are you finally ready to stop defending? Let's talk about it.